Hi, everyone. Today's podcast is a Burning Ladder fictional story. If you're new to the show, Burning Ladders is representative of an individual who burns out while climbing the corporate ladder. Coming out of the burnout, they typically make a radical career move to save their health and or their family. Today's episode may be fictional, but the plot is based on the reality that millions of us can relate to. The story of Peter Ash hits a crossroads when he nearly loses his family because he said yes to finishing a presentation for his boss while on vacation. Unfortunately, this one yes took a disastrous turn. What Peter did to courageously save his family and career is packed with lessons for all of us. I hope that you enjoy this story. We'll dive right into it after this short break. You are listening to the Work Life Eubiosis podcast with your host, Charleston Edwards. If this is your first time here, welcome. My goal is simple: to eradicate burnout and to bring harmony, purpose, and balance to this world, starting with the family. My hope is that this show and the story shared will provide encouragement and ideas that will be valuable to you on your journey to work-life freedom. So let's dive in to today's episode. It's Friday morning. Norman Walker jumps out of bed and opens his laptop. For the fifth time this week, Norman is up at 3:30 a.m. working on a multitude of projects and also getting ready for a keynote speech he would be making in LA the following week. Norman's company had been growing exponentially for the last 2 years, and the momentum was like a wildfire spreading in a dry forest. Products were flying off the shelf. The marketing campaigns were generating millions of impressions, and new hires were being onboarded left and right. All Norman could think about was maximizing how the organization was positioning itself in the marketplace. For Norman, this meant working 7 days a week, often 10 to 12-hour days, and meeting hopping all day long. This also meant that Norman's executive team had to keep pace. By 7 a.m. that Friday morning, Norman had finished his talking points for the speech, completed edits to the 5-year strategic plan, and sent out a note to his VP of Product Innovation, Peter Ash. He sent a new partnership proposal that he would want his team to build a presentation for. The email ended with this statement: "Please send me the presentation to review by 10 a.m. this coming Monday." By 7:05 a.m. on that Friday, Peter was reading Norman's request as he was loading luggage into his Suburban. Peter had taken the day off for his middle child's birthday, and the family had a fun weekend of adventures planned for a few hours down the coast. Peter was fuming by this email, knowing that he had no intent of being back in front of his computer before Monday morning. This type of request would take hours of meetings and phone calls and even focus time to get the presentation close to being presentable. Peter was a product of the work hard, play hard culture. The only way to keep his job going was to conform. Peter's typical workday usually went to 8 p.m., and he would get home just in time for a late dinner with the family and to help get the kids to bed. Peter, out of his internal guilt of not being as present with the kids, would often read to the kids as they went to bed. Peter's wife would routinely wake Peter up from where he had passed out while reading, only to get back up to work at 2 a.m. The middle of the night was the only time he could work while his boss or his subordinates were sleeping. This was also the only time he could get his best creative work done. Peter had not taken a day off in 2 years, And this was why he was at a crossroads with this insane request. Peter looks at his wife, and before he could say anything, she says, "No, Peter, you're not going to miss another family outing. You always disappear when we set time to celebrate a birthday or plan a family event. Why don't you tell Norman to shove it? This project is not your responsibility. It is his lack of boundaries and time management." Peter knew that his wife was right, but he explained to his wife that if I don't do this, he may get fired or passed up for the next bonus season. Peter's wife responds calmly but firmly, "Would you like a wife, or would you like to keep your job?" Peter bit his tongue and slammed the door on his way out of the kitchen. He goes over to the computer to see if there were any templates already in place that could eliminate the need to work all weekend. He also thought about asking his associate VP to help, but remembered she too was taking the day off for a doctor's appointment and knew it wasn't right to ask her to work over the weekend either. Perplexed, angered, and frustrated that this email had already caused a fight with his wife and had already put a damper on the start of a birthday weekend celebration, Peter decides to respond to Norman asking if there was any wiggle room in the timeline due to him being out of the office. Norman responds immediately, "Unfortunately not, Peter. This is a one-time opportunity for our organization, and this partner is ready to move to a different option if we don't have something to them by Monday." Reluctantly, Peter responds, "Understood. I'll have it over by Monday morning. Have a good weekend." Polite and sarcastic. Peter's only solution was to multitask all weekend. Between the early mornings and the late nights over the weekend, along with a few calls and texts to his team, Peter found a way to get the project done. Though he was physically present with his family, Peter was mentally out to lunch, as his focus was to not disappoint Norman. If this was a one-time incident that infiltrated the Ashe household, this possibly wouldn't have been a big deal. But this one Friday morning email and Peter's response was a lifestyle. Week after week, weekend after weekend, night after night, Peter's life revolved around his work. Though he loves his job, he was facing burnout. Peter hit send on the presentation to Norman right at 10 a.m. on that Monday morning. As it leaves his inbox, a new message alert pops up in his Outlook, and it's from his wife. The email was titled, "Your Most Important Project." Dear Peter, I hope the project that you've tirelessly worked on all weekend will be a tremendous success. I genuinely mean that. However, the project of your home is far from being complete. You are a wonderful provider for our financial needs, but you are not at home. I can't have one single conversation with you without you looking at your phone. You are attached to the screen day and night. This is why I'm emailing you, because I actually know that I have your undivided attention. Maybe. We haven't been intimate in months. You haven't taken me on one single date. You have not taken off work for 2 years. You are very passive to our kids, and their behavior is starting to show. Our actual house is a wreck. Everything is broken. The trash continues to pile up, and projects that you have promised to tackle continue to be pushed to the side. Peter, I am just lost at what I'm supposed to do. This past weekend was all orchestrated by me, and you were consistently not there again. I appreciate the sentiment of trying to make it work, but you failed to show up. You've promised to change, build boundaries, and be present more often. You've promised to look for other jobs that would allow you to have more time for the family. so that you would have more you time. You don't even have time to invest in your friendships outside of work. I've patiently waited for that day to come. Well, I'm tired of waiting. I'm leaving this afternoon with the kids to visit my parents in Cleveland. I don't know how long we will be there, but I need the time and the space to think. I can also use their help with the kids while I get my head on straight. Peter, you also need the time and space to figure out what you want to do for you and the future of this family. Right now, I question our future because your ambitions to climb the ladder and please your colleagues outweigh the ambitions of leading a happy and healthy home. I love you so much, but quite frankly, I don't know the person that I married. Love always, Amy. Peter felt like a truck had just run over him. This episode is brought to you by Own Your 5 to 9, an organization committed to freeing families of the rat race and burnout. Every organization has a leader, mission, and a set of values that drives the organization. But this is commonly missed in the most important organization in the world, the family. An organization has one mission for how it will impact the world. Why not the family? An organization goes into strategic planning routinely to align its values, mission, and projects. Why not the family? Whose Home, a strategic planning guide for families, is a workbook and a tool needed in all households. Whose Home takes a strategic planning approach with 10 guided exercises to define your core family values, family mission, and tools to operationalize how your family does life together. If your family is facing a big decision, Whose Home is for you. If you're considering a career pivot, Whose Home is also for you. If you desire more intentionality and harmony in your home, Whose Home is for you. Create a healthy culture, not a hustle culture, at home. Visit ownyour5to9.com to claim your copy today. You can probably relate to one or all the aspects of the pickle Peter is eating. We never get married with the goal of losing the marriage. That's just never part of the crystal ball. But 50% of all couples experience divorce. Sadly, the data never points to our overachievement culture as a core distraction to the intimacy in the home, but it is a major contributor. Chronic busyness kills relationships. The moral of this story is not to quit working when things get tough. It's to get creative. If work-life balance has been like catching a fish with your hands, then it's time to buy a fishing rod. There's no one-size-fits-all to figure out how to balance the needs of a home against the needs of a demanding job. But the common denominator is getting intentional. It starts with setting intention, making a plan, and taking faithful steps forward. We can also not completely throw Norman under the bus in this story. Norman is leading a company in a competitive market. We need driven leaders in this world. They are wired differently. It's also not our business to judge anyone, from the prideful to the humble. Everyone has a place and a purpose in this journey called life. However, I would question if Norman has an empathetic lens to the people who are serving his company. Has he evaluated the culture and checked in to see if his workers are not only happy, but healthy? Does Norman realize that there are many ways to empower people by leading by example? Does Norman set his own work-life boundaries? Does Norman understand that happy, productive employees are the cause of happy, productive lives outside of work, not vice versa? We don't know where Norman is at on his personal journey, but packed in these questions are recommendations for the leaders who may be listening to this. Unfortunately, we can't fix the culture at large, but we can change the culture of the home. The foundation of the home has been eroding for decades thanks to the growth of cities, manufacturing, media, and technology, all temples of the rat race. The hustle of the rat race is fueled by a formula given to all of us at birth in this Western world to quote unquote, to chase our potential for success. The values of the home implemented with intentionality and healthy boundaries is the way to protect the family from the rat race. It's the legacy that will be a gift for the next generation. I hope that if any part of Peter's story resonates with the culture of your home, that you are being nudged to recalibrate. If your family is worth salvaging, and if you continue to dream of what your long-term family health looks like, aka your legacy, I would encourage you to start building a list of ways to reset your family's trajectory. Here are a few suggestions to end the state of burnout and to reset your family rhythm. There are 5 categories here. Assess your boundaries, assess your household budget, assess the current job challenges, assess your career capital, and assess your dreams as a family. So let's dive into boundaries first. For Peter's situation, this is where he could start putting boundaries into place. A few examples include maybe setting 2 days in the week where you will be allowed to work overtime. Maybe that's Tuesdays and Thursdays. Communicate this with the family and come to an agreement on what days are allocated for overtime. Create 1 day where you're in airplane mode all day. No email, no IMs, no texts, no meetings, just focus work. And if that's not possible for a full day, try blocking off 4 hours where you're offline just for focus work. Another boundary is for your meetings. Condense them, shorten them, cancel the ones that don't offer value. And then the 4th boundary is looking at the sleep schedule and creating a different sleep schedule. Instead of working into family time, set an end time at 6 p.m. or 5 p.m. and invest in the family beyond the dinner. Then, with the ability to get to bed early, reset the morning routine to start less abruptly by going into meditation and moving your body. Then follow that with work. You'll be amazed at how much you can get done before 9 a.m. without being on email. Number 2, assess your household budget. In the budgeting process, it's the time to answer one question. What is enough? This isn't for second homes or extracurriculars or vacations. It's the answer to what is enough for the basic needs of the home. Once that number is identified for what's needed for approximately 6 months to a year, then this will provide some clarity of a few options as it relates to career aspirations, trajectories, or even career pivots. Next, you'll want to assess your current challenges at your job. Quitting isn't always the best solution, but maybe some of the following solutions could be the right fit. Can you ask for a demotion? Can you ask to start a succession plan and groom a replacement? Can you ask for a sabbatical? And if you do want to walk away from your job, can you first explore the opportunity to go independent, to be a 1099 contractor and consult for your organization? Can you ask for more support internally based on the job description that you would be an author for? Can you ask for new boundaries or protocols to be put in place as an organization or for your team specifically to protect non-working hours? Next, you want to assess your career capital. If leaving the job is the next best step, I encourage you to do a 30,000-foot flyover first. How have you progressed over your career? Where's the red thread? What jobs, projects, and tasks have energized you? What tasks or even hobbies have you not put enough effort into that you'll like to explore more? What are your soft skills that can be transferred to other industries? Who are at least 10 people closest to you professionally who can support you, refer you, and help support a job pivot? And then lastly, assess your dreams as a family. You'll want to do this concurrently as you assess your job and career. Go on a family planning retreat. This does not have to be extravagant or expensive. If the finances are tight, don't even leave home. Find the space on the calendar and the physical space in your home that will bring a sense of delight to the conversation. In this retreat, it's the time to get on the same page for the goals of the family, to assess your core values as a family, and then dream together what your lifestyle is supposed to look like. This will look different for every family, and it's a chance to disengage from keeping up with the Joneses. This planning retreat is also a time to build some boundaries in the home and around your schedules. At this retreat, you have one goal in mind, which is to make an action plan with a timeline. Let's get back to Peter. Peter took action and created a family mission statement with Amy during their 2-day retreat. Fast forward 2 years, Peter saved his family, and they are now thriving. Peter started his own consulting firm in the industry he had been in for the previous 20 years. One of his clients is actually Norman. He works about 25 hours a week. He's consistently doing home improvement projects and is also launching a second business, aka his passion project, that will take families on retreats to Italy. Peter is spending 2 full days a week with his kids, and this has allowed Amy to launch a small part-time business of her own. This was a long-time dream of hers. Peter and his wife have also started exercising in the mornings together, and they have collectively lost 30 pounds, and they feel like they are teenagers again. The kids are also thriving in their education and their activities. The Ash family has also scaled back on some of their expenses and their extracurriculars, which has created more margin in both their budgets and calendars. The Ash home is still a far cry from being 100% zen, as they are still in the throes of parenting young kids and working. But the constant chaos, overwork, and quarrels have come to a screeching halt. If your home is a product of the rat race, but you're ready for a change, consider getting the Who's Home workbook and going on a 2-day getaway to dive into the family strategic planning models in this guide. Visit ownyour5to9.com to claim your copy. And remember, create a healthy culture, not a hustle culture at home. Thank you for listening to the Work-Life Eubiosis podcast, part of the work-life resources created by Own Your 5 to 9. I hope that you have found encouragement and a few ideas to strengthen your journey to purpose, freedom, and balance. Have you overcome burnout and found a new way of life? Millions around the globe are still at the risk of burnout and losing it all. And your story may be the one that sparks not only a dream, but action. Visit ownyour5to9.com for more information and submit your story. While you're there, join the Work-Life Eubiosis newsletter and receive additional resources weekly right to your inbox. If you enjoy this podcast, take time to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Share it with a friend or loved one. Remember, the most important organization in the world is the family. Let's do our part to strengthen it. Thank you for listening.